Hey, so thank you everybody for joining us today. My name is Jessica Record and I'm the Executive Director for Vittel and EduConnect. I am coming to you from California, so it's about 9 p.m. my time. As is my colleague Radhika, who is hosting this webinar, and she'll be the one guiding us through the slides. And Radhika is our social media coordinator. So everything that you see on social media is all from her. So she will be highlighting some of the events we're doing, highlighting our students. Hopefully at some point she'll be highlighting you, get you a little extra exposure. We're calling from California. And then I have my colleague here as well, Christina. And Christina is our visa specialist. So she is an enrollment advisor, but one of her many specialties is focused on the visa process. So she'll be the star of the show today, and then I will chime in with any additional tips or tricks that I have to share with you as well. And just a little bit of background. EduConnect is Alliance International Recruitment Partner. So what our job is to support all the international students who are coming to Alliance. Because we know that when you are looking for a university that is in a different country in the United States, not only as an international student do you need to get admitted, but there's a lot of additional things that come with that. So the visa process that we'll be talking about tonight, as well as relocating, making sure the documents get submitted for your admission. There might be some terminology throughout the process that might be different in the US than your country that you need clarification on. All of that is what we do. So whether you have questions about the visa process and you're applying for a Vittel program or any other program at Alliant, our job is to assist you through the entire process from the time that you decide to apply to the time you arrive. So we'll be sharing a lot of contact information with you throughout this webinar. And so please feel free to utilize our assistance. That's what we're here for. The other thing that I want to mention is we are going to be going over some really over the whole visa process from kind of a macro level, so a higher level, just an overview, and we'll be sharing some tips and tricks and frequently asked questions with you. If you have questions, please feel free at any time to put them in the chat. We will have time for questions and answers at the end. One thing that I want to mention is if you have a specific question about your very specific case, please do not share that in this session for a couple reasons. One reason would be that we don't want you to share any personal information. And then the second reason that we're going to talk more about is that a lot of times your visa interview and process can be very highly individualized. And it's not something that we can kind of speculate on or diagnose over a big webinar. But that being said, one of the resources we want to share in this webinar is that we do personalized visa information sessions. And we'll share those resources for you so that you can schedule one that you will be talking one-on-one with somebody, going through all of your questions, any of your concerns, going through the process. So feel free to, listen to us today, schedule an individual appointment. But if you have any kind of general questions, we're happy to answer that in this webinar. So just a reminder before I pass it on, we're going to go over the process first, and then we'll talk about some frequently asked questions. And then we will finish up with some tips that we can provide for you along the way. So I think that's it for my introduction. So with all that being said, I'd like to introduce you to Christina, our enrollment specialist who focuses a lot of her time on assisting students through the visa process. So Christina, take it away and I'll jump in if I have anything else to add.
Hi, everybody. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world right now. So it is morning or no, afternoon in my time. And thank you for being with us here today. And this is very important because this webinar and the information that we'll be giving out to you is very important for your visa process. The visa process actually is the last stage, so to speak, of your admission. So after you got admitted or you get admitted to the university, you will have to have your admission letter and your I-20. Now, your I-20 is very important because that is a document that you need to have, to do your visa application. When you receive your I-20, this is normally sent out to you directly to your email. So you have to be very careful and check all the information that is on the I-20. Sometimes there could be, information there that is not correct. Example, the campuses and all other information. So before you proceed to your visa application, please check your I-20. That would be my first advice because it's very important that you have all the correct information in your I-20. Now, after you have your I-20, please immediately process your SEVIS fee or process your SEVIS. Now, some of you may know what SEVIS is. You're familiar of SEVIS, and there are students, particularly for the first-timers who are first-timers applying an F-1 visa. They don't really know what SEVIS is. So SEVIS is a student and exchange visitor information services. So it is a system that secures all the information of the student and other, J1 practitioners or J1 participants to the United States. So it is a system that you have to pay for, and you have to pay this to the U.S. Department of State, not to the university or not to us, to EduConnect. Okay, so that is important. Process your SEVIS. After processing your SEVIS, if you have completed that part, you have to go to schedule for your visa or DS-160. Now, there are instances that students are, they're challenged on how to do the DS-160 or the visa application. When you go to the visa appointment, you really have to check. First, you have to know your visa that you're applying for. So under this program, since you're going to study, it is under F-1 visa. So you have to go to the U.S. Embassy website. Now check for the F-1 visa application. And all the information that will be asked from you are information that you have. It's personal information. And sometimes, and most of the time, the other informations will be in your I-20. Okay, so it's important that you have your I-20, paid your SEVIS, then do your visa appointment. All the informations are there and you have to apply. Now, once you go to the pages, because there will be several pages in your visa application, if you're not sure, if there is an information that you're not sure or what to put on that question, please save. Always save the page that you are in before you proceed. Okay, so that you will not go through another visa application, because sometimes it could be duplicated and we don't want that to happen. If you have a duplicate application for the visa, there are instances that the U.S. Department of State or the U.S. Embassy will have to cancel your previous application, or there will be some complications there. So as much as possible, be sure to put all the correct information on the visa application that you're doing. And if you're not sure, just click save before you proceed or before you log out. You can always log in and log out to your visa application. Now, once you have completed that, that's when you pay for the DS-160. It's $160. Now, in different countries, there are different ways of paying your visa application. Now, you just really have to follow the instruction that is given to you on the website because it's different from different countries. After completing your visa application and you have paid for your visa application, you will have the visa confirmation. And once you have that, you have to print it out. Okay, so print it out. Also, I'd like to go back for the service processing. Once you have completed your service and you have paid for your service, please print out your service fee receipt, because it's an important document that you have to bring with you when you do your visa interview, your actual visa interview. So after you have scheduled, let's say you already have a visa appointment, and your visa appointment, let's say, is 2 weeks from now, we then would really want you to do a visa interview preparation. We have several team from my team who can do this for you, assist you in the visa preparation. And we will assist you on like questions, possible questions that might be asked by the U.S. Consular Officer. What are the documents that you have to bring with you, and other tips that we could give you. And I think Jessica mentioned this, the visa interview is very individualized. Regardless if you have the same program. I know that there are candidates here with the same program at Alliant International University, but it's different because when you do your interview, there are questions there that are based on your previous answer. So that is why it's individualized. So some students will be asked about some questions that other students will not be asked. Okay, so that is very important, and visa interview preparation is highly recommended so that when you do your visa appointment, your actual visa interview, you are prepared. I know that there are some students, this is based on the experience that I encountered with the students. They go through YouTube, check all the what are the visa questions, and there are a lot of information that you can find in YouTube. However, if you should go to YouTube, I would always tell the candidate, please look for the questions that is applicable to you, because there are YouTube videos that are for J1. There are YouTube videos that are for tourist visas. There are YouTubes that are for F-1 visa. So there might be some questions that will not be asked during your visa interview because your visa is F-1 visa and different from the other visas that you can find on YouTube, because I know there are several vlogs about how to do a visa interview. So it is really different. It is really based on the visa that you're applying for. So at this instance, this is F-1 visa. So it's important that you get all the questions and all the information that is related to F-1 visa. Now, when you get the visa result, because that will be immediate, when you are told by the consular officer that, okay, that's it, but they got your passport, it means that, well, we could assume that's already a visa approval, because sometimes there are instances that the consular officer will not tell you immediately that, okay, your visa is approved. They will just get your passport. Now, if and when that happens, you can always politely ask the consular officer just to eliminate the doubt. Is my visa approved or am I denied? So you can always ask the consular officer. Okay. Now, if they will return your passport and they have a standard letter that they will give you, that is automatically a denial. So there are instances that the consular officer will not tell you why your visa is denied. And if you can always ask, I tell the candidates, if you want to ask the consular officer, you can ask. But please note that the consular officer is not obliged to answer your question. They just give you a letter, or they will just tell you, as of this time, you're not qualified yet. So that is a standard answer of the U.S. consular officer. But do not be discouraged because you can always reapply, right? Once you get your visa result, you have to inform your enrollment specialist or your enrollment advisor, inform us if your visa is approved or denied, because we have to inform the university so that the university could give you the next step on your enrollment or admission process. Okay, so after that, once you are ready, you have completed your visa, you got your visa, you have completed your last stage of the admission process, which is the enrollment agreement to the university, then you have to leave for the United States or book your ticket. Now, it is important that the students will really have to book your tickets prior or after your visa approval. So there are instances that there are students who really book for their apartments or their housings. They have booked for their insurance and book for tickets before the visa interview. We discourage that. As much as possible, do your health insurance, your housing, and your plane tickets after you get your visa. Okay, so that is very important so that you will not spend on unnecessary expenses. So, okay. Next is to travel to the United States. So once you get your ticket, you have to inform us when you're traveling to the United States so that we can also inform the university. And once you get to the United States, you have to, report yourself to the designated school officer or student officer at the university. So you have to check your, have a call or send an email to the DSO that you are already in the United States so that the additional process will be done by the university. Okay, so at this point, I can see that there are questions here. Should we answer these questions? Radhika?
Christina, let's go ahead and wait till the end.
Okay, great. So after the visa process, of course, there are questions. Okay, so what are the possible questions? Most of the time, the questions will be about why you want to apply or why you chose Alliant International University and why you selected this program. This is a common question. Now, of course, I find it very interesting to find students that they don't even know the university. It is very sad, but you really have to search or research about Alliant because when you apply for the university, this is assumed that you already know about Alliant, right? But we also give you, several information that can boost all the other information that you have already with the university. These are the following. You have to mention that, Alliant has a long range or they have a good accreditation because Alliant is accredited by WASC or Senior College and University Accommodation. Commission. They also, the programs that you're applying for under the CSML program is also accredited for from ACBSP, ACBSCP, I'm sorry. So those are, you have to mention the accreditation of the university. You have to mention the legacy of the university because the university has been existing since 1901. You can also mention about the global network impact of the university. Alliant International University has a diverse culture. Students from 200 or several countries that join the university. So there is a diverse students, diversity of culture, diversity in the even the staff. So it's very important that you know information about the university. Most of the time, we have students who already did their research about the university because they only applied for Alliant and they know why they applied for Alliant. And this is very important because some of you, of course, we could not help it. There are universities that you applied for other than Alliant, right? But you wanted to be, or you want to be in Alliant, in that program, in a particular program. So there are questions like, why only this university? Why did you only apply for this university? So that question is a very a simple, you can answer that question simply because the first place, you know the program, and that is the only program that is offered at Alliant. You cannot find it in another university. If there are other the same program from other universities, why did you choose Alliant, right? So please check all the information about your program, know your program from the details on how did you apply for the program, the documents that you submitted to the program when you applied for it, all the documents that the university asked from you, because after this question, they will really ask you, oh, what's your GMAT score? Oh, what's your GRE score? So that is also part of knowing the university and knowing the program that you applied for. Because in the first place, if you know your program, you know how to answer these questions, right? And please remember that whatever you answer to the consular officer on the previous question, the succeeding question of the consular officer will always be based from your previous answer. So you really have to be concise and be responsive to the question. Okay, so if they ask you why Alliant International University, so you can say, for example, if you attended for a Vattel program at Alliant International University, you can mention that I only chose Alliant International University because I'm attending the Vattel Institute of Hospitality Management at Alliant International University. And they will ask you about, oh, what is the Vattel program? So again, please remember, the succeeding question of the consular officer will be based on your previous answer. So if you answer that question, like why only Alliant, why only this program, you have to be ready for the next question. Now, this is why it's very important that you know your program, the ins and outs of your program, the program application, the documents that they required from you, and the documents that the university gave you when you got admitted. Okay, so what are the other questions? Ties to home country. Okay, so what is ties to your home country? Ties to your home country is actually the things that, you know, bind you from your home country or your homeland. So these are, of course, your job, if you have an existing job right now, your properties, if you have properties or investments that you own or that you currently own or may own. What else? Your family. Okay, so they might ask you questions like, oh, when you leave for the United States, who will be left in your country? Do you have families in the United States? Do you have a job? What do you do currently? Or things like that. So that is size your home country because you have to remember anybody who is applying for a non-immigrant visa, just like an F-1 visa, they view this as somebody who might overstay in the United States, or you know, they may not come back to their home country. So it is very important that you have to establish the consular officer that your main purpose is just to take your master's program or your doctor's program or your PhD program at Alliant International University, then you come home after your program because you have ties to your home country. You don't intend to overstay or work in the United States. Okay, so that is ties. Also, please prepare for questions like, have you been to the United States before? Or have you traveled outside your country? So these are questions that sometimes are asked from the students, but not all the students. Okay, so they could ask you about it. Now, if you already have an existing visa, apart from F1 visa, they might ask you about, oh, what was your previous travel to the United States? What was that all about? It's important that you will be able to discuss this or tell the consular officer about, the purpose of your going to the US before from the other visa. Okay. Also, they could ask you about your sponsors. Okay, so your sponsors are the family members that you sponsor or help you financially for your um, education in the United States. So they will ask you who is your sponsor or who will be financing your studies. So this question, it's easy to answer if you know all the information about the financial documents, right? Now, we suggest that whoever is on the financial documents, who signed the financial documents, you have to inform the consular officer that if it's your father, then you have to mention that my father is sponsoring for the my education. Or if it's your uncle or your other family members, you have to mention that. Sometimes there are students who will tell me during the visa interview practice that their uncle and their brother or other family members, but on the financial documents, it's only the uncle or it's only the brother who signed the financial certification document. So whoever is on your financial certification document, that is the declared sponsor. Okay, please remember that during your actual visa interview. Now, what is also important is that you know the source of income of your sponsors because they will ask you about it. Okay, so they will ask you what is the source of income of your father, your uncle, or your brother. So that is very important information because we have incidents that students were denied because they don't know the income of their sponsors. So that information is important. Please remember that. Okay. So other FAQs, we have visa approval rates. Now, I've been asked several times about this, but I will tell the students directly that the visa approval, like what Jessica mentioned, since the visa interview is individualized, so there are students who get the visa immediately because how they answer the question, how they support, how they address the question of the consular officer and convince the consular officer. It's not really about, your sponsorship or your program or your university. To be honest with you, it's really about the individual or the student who's applying for the visa because all the questions will be related to you. Most of the time, it's about you. They could ask you about the university and the program, but most of the other questions are about you and how you're going to answer the consular officer. So for visa approval rates, it's not really about the university. And we have a good number of visa approvals as well.
And I want to add to that, Christina, too, because we get this question all the time, and exactly what Christina said, it's really hard to answer because it's going to depend on a lot of factors, as Christina mentioned. So it's going to depend on the country that you come from. It's going to depend now in our current state, the backlog of students to come to the US. Things have been restricted because of COVID. So in certain countries, there is a big backlog. And so it's going to depend on things like that. It's going to depend on if you've ever had a visa in the US. it can depend on your family members in the US. So there's a lot of things, just like Christina mentioned, that affect that answer. So we can't give like a general answer. It's really going to be dependent on your situation. And so we're happy to talk more about that individually. But even then, you know, we'll never be able to tell you, you know, if there's anything that, you know, we see as something that has happened before where students get denied, we'd be able to tell you that, but it's really individualized, like Christina says. So if you have specific questions about your case, please be sure, and I'll put the link again. But exactly like Christina said, it's really hard to give a general answer to that question. Depends on a lot of things. But the nice thing also to mention now is it's a great time to be an international student coming to the US. You know, if you've been following the US, you know, things have changed quite a bit in the past several years. So under the Trump administration, there were a lot more restrictions on immigration. With the current Biden administration, they are really looking to bring the best and the brightest to the US to study. So there are some rules that have changed, some rules that have relaxed. So if you tried in the past, didn't work out, contact us and let us know your situation, and we'll be able to tell you if it's a good time to try again. But overall, the climate in the US is much more favorable to international students right now. So that's something that you have in your favor.
Yeah. Thank you, Jessica. With that, I would just like to give out a general tip, right, for everybody. When you do a visa appointment or visa interview, you just have to be really confident about, you know, the program that you're applying for, confident about the answers you will give out to the consular officer. Also, the way you answer is very important. You have to smile always and be pleasant. It's very important on the mindsetting. It's a mindset, actually. That's why we always encourage the students to be there an hour early before your visa interview, because you have the time to relax. So that is just a general tip for you know, for the students who are applying for an F-1 visa. Like Jessica, I think on the chat box, she already gave out the you know, the contact person to do the visa interview practice. When you do the visa interview practice with our team, please feel free to give out, you know, be open. You know, if there are information that you think you know, could affect your visa application, just tell the team, or the let's say from you have family members in the United States or something like that. Please feel free to tell our team all your other concerns, because we really want to help you out get your visa. Okay, so for visa interview dates, there is a, if you notice, there are several countries who are getting, you know, 50 or more than 50 days wait time. But it's very important that you have to check. Sometimes the students really have to check every now and then to get the visa date, because sometimes there are dates, or the US consular, I mean the US embassy will open a date on a weekend. Well, they will, you know, post the date that is open. You can get it on a weekend, Sunday or Saturday evening. And these are for candidates who particularly are from India, other countries who have, you know, a longer visa dates. Please check the website every now and then. If you can check it during the evening, you can check, go ahead and check it. That's why it's important as well that when you do the visa interview, when you do the visa you know, application, if you're doing it by yourself, then that's good because you have access to your account, right? Now, if you have somebody who's assisting you, might as well, ask that person to check the visa dates every hour if it's possible. If not, if that's not possible, then you can check during the evening or during the weekend, because there are instances that the US embassy in that country will open or send out the open dates on a weekend or late at night. Okay, so please very careful on looking on the visa dates. In some countries, well, in some parts of Asia, there are wait lists like 15 days, 30 days, or 20 days. So if you get your I-20, when you get your I-20, please already process everything so you get a good date for your interview. Now, for visa interview date, also a general tip: if you find a date that is a first day of the week, let's say a Monday, then that's good. Please get the Monday. Please also get a the earliest hour of the day, because that could be a good time for you to have your visa interview. I always tell this to the students, because of course there's human factor in the visa interview, right? So as much as possible, when you go there, when everything's fresh and new, our consular officers are rested, you are rested, you are well prepared. So as much as possible, get the visa date that is the first day of the week. If you cannot find the first day of the week, let's say Monday is already filled out, then the next day, or the next succeeding days, but please get the earliest hour. I would really suggest you get the earliest hour. But if you cannot get the earliest hour, then it's okay. That is still workable if you are confident. If you know you are well prepared for your visa interview, that will not be a problem. That is just a general tip that I give out to students, because sometimes it really helps.
And Christina, I want to add to that. Those are really good tips. When you look for a date as soon as possible, like Christina said, you get your I-20, start looking for a date immediately. So another thing is, if you find a date, book it. Sometimes what happens is students will see, oh, there's a lot of dates available. It's only a 6-day wait period. If I schedule it today, my visa appointment will be as early as next week. This is going to be easy. And then they go back to check and it's a 50-day wait period.
Yeah.
We are still in a time of COVID where there's waves, where things get restricted and unrestricted, and do not wait. Do not get too confident in that, because regardless of where you are, the dates could change the next day to being backlogged, to being booked. And also too, the other thing we see is students will log in and there'll be a date and it's after their start date, or it's way far in advance. I mean, some countries right now have waits of like hundreds of days right now. If you can find a date, book the date. If it's after the start date, whatever it is, book the date, because we can also assist you, depending on the country, to see if you can schedule for an emergency appointment. And I don't like the word emergency appointments. Like expedited appointment is a better word. I know students in the past have felt like that the emergency appointments are not for them because of that word emergency. It's more expedited. So if you get a late date, you can apply for expedited appointments in a lot of countries, and they'll look at your start date and they can get you an appointment earlier. So whatever you can, book it. Don't wait. Sometimes students wait thinking like, oh, well, there's a COVID wave now, maybe in 2 or 3 weeks, things will open up. Maybe they will, but maybe they won't. So if you can find a date, be sure to book it.
Yes, that is a very good tip. Of course, if there's an open date, you have to book it, and please tell us immediately that you have booked for this date. even if even if it's after start date, because we can also assist you. Now, the key important thing here is that you have to inform your enrollment specialist about the dates that you have booked, so that we can assist you. Otherwise, we could not. There are information there. It's too late for us to give you the information that can assist you on the visa expedited date for the visa interview. Please feel free to tell us immediately. Also, I guess that's for the visa interview dates, right? Oh, here we are for the tips. So like what I said, schedule an appointment as early as possible. Visa interview prep session with us. I have students who tell me that, or tells me that, or tell me that, or tell the other team that they can do a another visa interview practice again with us. If our time permits us, like, because there are some other students who have scheduled already, then you can. But if we don't have the time, please always practice this in front of the mirror. I would suggest that practice like possible questions in front of the mirror, or practice it with your friends. We give you questions, and the general questions that are asked during the visa interview practice, you can give it to your friend, and he could or she could ask you those questions. That is very important that you do the practice. Now, there are students who do the visa interview practice with us a day before their visa interview. Now, we can do so much in one day. Okay, I hope that when you get your visa date, please schedule already for a visa interview prep session with us. Like number of days before your actual visa interview, because sometimes if you do the interview practice with us and you found out, oh, these are possible questions, so on and so forth, then you will feel more anxious. You get nervous. We don't want you to be nervous the day before your actual interview, or even during your actual interview. So we suggest that once you get your date, your actual visa date, please schedule immediately for a visa interview prep session with us, as much as possible days before. But if you cannot find any other date, and the date is only the day before your visa interview, then that still would be fine. And we will also assist you on that as well. We just want you to not to feel nervous before your actual visa interview. Okay. So also during the visa preparation, we tell you what documents that you have to prepare, the things that you have to have in your folder. Just a reminder, no documents or any certification could guarantee your visa approval, but if and when during your visa interview, the consular will ask you about your I-20, the consular officer will ask you about your bachelor's degree, your transcript. They could ask you anything during your visa interview. Please at least you have those documents with you, so you will not have another date, reschedule for a visa interview because you don't have those documents when you have been interviewed. Always prepare for the documents, just in case they will ask for a copy of it. You have something to present to the consular officer. Okay. When you go to the actual interview, please come an hour early on your before your time, your actual time, because when you're already there an hour early, you still have time to compose yourself, to stay relaxed, and you're already there. You can't do anything about it anymore. Okay, so you're already there, so be present, always smile. You have time to compose when you are there an hour early. Okay. Be presentable. They ask me, like, what should I wear? Students are always asking me, what should I wear? Normally, just be on your business attire, if you can be in a business attire. If you don't have to be You have to be presentable. When we say presentable, because you're applying for a master's program, right? You're applying for a higher degree program, F-1 visa. Of course, we want the students to present themselves that they really are a students applying for a higher degree program. Don't go there on a t-shirt or jeans, but but some students will do that because I don't know why. Sometimes it will affect the visa interview. I don't know why. Okay, because I have students who do that. They don't really come in business attire, but they got the visa. So
And
I
it's
don't know.
yeah, I think you're exactly right. And it's a first impression
Yes.
situation, right? Like we're all
Yes.
humans. So if you come in like after the gym, the first impression might be like, oh, are you serious about studying? So it is
Yes.
helpful. It's not a requirement. You're not going to see it
It's
on
not
the
a requirement.
website,
Yeah.
but it's definitely, whenever you're doing anything for your master's program, make sure that you look presentable. For a lot of students, your interview, and we tell you to prepare, Christina said, bring all your documents, over prepare. For a lot of students, your visa interview is going to be minutes. They'll ask you one question, two questions, three questions, and then it's done. So over prepare because you don't know what they're going to ask you. But it's that first impression. They're going to look at your case, they have background on you, but they're going to see you. So that's a really good tip. So just make sure that you look presentable.
And there are also instances that students will not be asked any questions at all. The consular officer will just get the I-20 and your passport. And that happens. And they could give you an approval or a denial. They will just check the document. That's why it's important that you bring your documents with you. Next, of course, is be concise. We always tell the students, I know that there are students who get excited. Some will feel anxious during the visa interview. There are people who get excited that they talk too much. And some also, there are students who, when they are anxious, they talk too much. As much as possible, because you're not the only person applying for the F-1 visa. And I know this for some of the students who already have visa experiences, probably a J1 or tourist visa. There are several candidates who are waiting in line to be interviewed. When we say be concise, please give out the exact answer to the question of the consular officer, because you have to be responsive to the question. Okay, if you give out an answer that is not even related to the question, and you give out a long speech that is not even related to the question of the consular officer, it could affect your visa. So be concise. Do not prepare long speeches. If they ask you for a specific question, give out a specific answer, but of course in a complete sentence. Please be mindful of if there is a question that you don't understand. Sometimes there are questions that you don't understand or you did not hear clearly. Always ask the consular officer to please repeat the question. Then that's okay. And you just have to be polite. Relax and stay focused, be positive, and be confident in your visa interview. And that's one of the tips that could be really helpful. Sometimes it's like, oh, those just are words that you say and tell us, but it could really help you. Okay, just relax. And if you know your program, you know the document, you have the documents with you, you know how to answer the questions, and that I think you will not have a problem with your visa interview or visa result. Okay, so do not prepare long speeches. Stay relaxed, be positive and confident on that day. Okay, so I think those are our general tips, Radhika. So on your screen, you can see the team, our team, who can assist you for your visa interview practice. For MS, for all the MS programs, you can reach out to Ruella. For the DBA, PhD, and Executive MBA program, you can reach out to Charlene. If your program is under the General MBA, you can reach out to Trisha. And if you are applying for the Patel program with concentration in hospitality management, you can check out RISA schedule. Okay, so please feel free to schedule with us. We are very much willing to assist you on your visa success. Okay, we, as much as possible, we want our students to get the visa immediately. We will, as first step, okay, we want our students to get the visa on the first take of their visa interview.
And then I have a couple additional questions to answer. That's exactly right. So please note down this information and we'll post it as well. I've seen a couple questions before we run up on the hour here about when, Christina, maybe you can answer this. When does Alliant issue their I-20s?
Okay, generally Alliant will issue the I-20 2 or 3 days after you get your visa application. I mean, not visa application, your admission to the university. Okay, now if your program, okay, if your program is October, let's say, or let's say your program, the start date that you chose is January 2023. You will get your I-20 120 days before the start date of your program. Okay, if your program is August, and you applied, let's say in July, you will get your I-20 like immediately, like 48 hours or 24 hours after. Okay, but if your admission is like January 2023 or October, you will get 120. You will get your I-20 120 days before the start date. So for October intakes, you will get your I-20 soon. For the August intake, you should have your I-20s now. Okay. For the January intake, I'm sorry.
No, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, there might be students who are for the January 2023. So you will get your I-20 120 days before your start date.
And we have a couple questions about traveling with spouses and kids. Can you touch on that process briefly?
Yes. So there are instances that we have students who, will have their F-2 or their dependents with them when they go to the United States. If you already know this before you applied for the program, or if you have already decided that you will bring a dependent when you go to the US and study, please process that during your application to the university at the same time, okay? Do not wait for you to apply first for the university, get admitted, and that's the time you apply for your dependents. We, as much as possible, please simultaneously apply for your dependent when you apply for the university, so that there will be an immediate response, and we will avoid the back and forths from the university and from the students, and the time constraint there, because it could affect your visa application as well. Because if you already are admitted and you got your I-20, then you will apply for your dependents. Then you have to wait for the I-20 of your dependents, right? To get a visa application. So as much as possible, simultaneously do that when you have decided that you are going to bring a dependent with you. Please do it when you simultaneously when you apply to the university, so that you will get the I-20 altogether.
And does bringing dependents necessarily affect your chances of getting a visa?
Oh, not necessarily. If you notice, some of you here probably have applied for dependents, you might, you must, declare them on your financial documents. If you're bringing your children, one or two kids, or your wife with you, it does not really affect your visa, unless, of course, there is a question there that you cannot answer, right? I haven't found any students that are denied because of their dependents. Okay, so that is not really I think that's not a issue on the dependent. I don't think so.
I think it's just an extra case to make sure that
Yeah.
you can show your ties to your home country. But no, like
Yes.
Christina said, there's no, it's not, you know, if you're able to do that, there, we have students who come with their dependents, so that's
Yeah.
okay. And Christina, can you touch on a little bit denials? Because it's so frustrating and sometimes students get denied. Can you talk about denials, and is that the end of the road, or what students can do?
Yeah, so when you inform us that you get denied, we always encourage you to, apply for another visa appointment because it's not the end of the road yet. So if, especially if your intake is, let's say, a few months before after your visa interview, so you still have time, right? Now, if you tell us that you got denied, please schedule for a visa that is 2 weeks after, or probably a month after, if your intake is still 2 months, okay, 2 months before your last visa interview. Because sometimes there are denials that probably because of, what answer you gave to the consular officer. And when you do and review your answer, oh, I should have answered this, or I should have given this information. There are instances like that, right? But there are instances when visa denials that we really know, okay, I think you really need to improve on this, on that. So we will suggest that you do a visa interview like months after, okay, or a month after, not immediately after. It's case-to-case basis on what we can suggest and tell you. But please do not be discouraged. It is sometimes the denial is because of one information or that you were not able to give out to the consular officer, or the way you answer the consular officer. Sometimes they don't understand your answer. I have instances who students who told me, actually it's my fault because um, the consular officer, probably did not understand my answer. Okay, there are instances like that. And if you are in that position, we always suggest that you get another visa. The next visa date available, please schedule for that. But there are instances that we will tell you, okay, I think it's better if you, schedule for a month from now. So it's a case-to-case basis. So, and it's not the end of the road. Okay, don't get disappointed.
And we have another question about housing as it relates to the visa process. And maybe if you can answer or add to this, but you are asked very early on about your housing. And to be honest, students don't typically know that early. Do you have tips on that, Christina, about the early mentions of the housing process and what students can do?
Yes, my tip is that we generally give you, if you notice on the acceptance letter that Vivian sends you, there is a student resource there, and you can check on them. There's a link for the housing that is recommended by the university. Now, what I tell the students, if just in case, and there are students who are asked about their housing, at this point in time, when they're doing the visa interview, they haven't booked their housing yet, right? So what you're going to tell the consular officer is that you are considering on the housing that is recommended by the university. Okay, that's what I always tell them, and it works. And of course, I think the consular officer understands that, because you will only book your housing when you get the visa, of course. And there are instances that I have students who are very upfront. They tell the consular officer that, oh, I haven't booked for my housing yet because I'm waiting for my visa result. So there are instances like that. But if you are in that position, you haven't booked anything yet, please always, you can always mention that I'm considering on the housing that the university is recommending. For example, we have a housing that is recommended for the Batel students, Anatolia. We always tell them, oh, I'm considering this housing apartment because the university recommended it to us, but I haven't booked yet. Okay, So that is a possible answer.
Yeah, and the point that they're asking is they really want to make sure that you've thought this through, that you're going to
Yeah.
be taken care of when you're in the US. You're not going to
Mhm.
be homeless. You're not going to be without money, that you're coming to the US to study. You have things figured out. So if you change your mind, anything like that, it's not a big idea. They want you to just start thinking about it. You know, when you have to show your financials, you have to show your housing, just that you know what you have a plan, and the plans can change, and we can assist you with that, but just that's the reason they're asking. So don't get too stuck with that, but exactly like Christina said, we have resources to help you get something, you know, get a good idea down, and then if it changes, that's okay. And I think we've answered most of the questions. There are some, if you have specific questions, Radhika, could you real quick put up that last slide just one last time with the contact information? Please reach out to us so we can answer your individual questions. If you have a question about your specific I-20 hasn't been issued, reach out to our team. That's what we're here for. We'll follow up on your behalf. And if you have any questions we didn't get to, I think we got through most of them, but just reach out. That's what we're here for.
Sorry, there is questions in the Q&A section.
Okay, I saw a couple of them. I know a couple of them are specific, so make sure to ask about your specific case to your program representative, because they'll be able to help you out with that. And then in addition to a question about scores, there was, Christina mentioned about sometimes the consular officials will ask you about your GMATs or your GRE scores. And she was talking about, this is really important that you know your program, because they'll ask you that. Alliant does not require those scores. Alliant has determined over the years that they're not a great indicator of how students perform, especially with international students, because there's a lot of things involved with those tests. So sometimes students will get asked that questions and they'll be stuck. You know, they'll say, oh, I don't know, I didn't take it. Know your program. Alliant does not require those scores, so I didn't need to submit that. So Alliant does not require GMAT, GRE. You can submit them if you have them. Doesn't hurt, but it's not a requirement. So that was just when she was mentioning scores, it was just an indication that you need to know your program to advocate for your choice if you don't have that. And I see a quick question as we're wrapping up here on English language tests. Be sure to check with us, because we can give you the list that Alliant accepts, but Duolingo is the one that we recommend, because you can take it from your home computer. It's relatively low cost. You could do it on your own schedule. So check with us. We can give you the scores, and you can have your scores directly submitted to Alliant. So that's what we would recommend. And but check with us. We can give you all the score options. And for tuition and fees, this is going to vary based on the program. In general, tuition and fees, tuition is due the week before school starts. So a lot of students will pay when they get to orientation. But even regardless of your arrival date, you need to make sure you pay the week before school starts. And let's see if I'm missing anything.
Jessica, can we address this question? She says that, can the university help us book for an appointment or a visa appointment? So I would like to address this. It's very important that the student will do the visa application for themselves. It's very easy. You just go to the US Embassy website, and all the information is there. Apply for an F-1 visa. You have to do this for yourself, because all the information that is asked on the visa application is about you. Okay, all your information, there are information there that is on your I-20, but it's very answerable. I think the challenge is that there are several pages there. Okay, I have encountered students who tell me, oh, I don't really know how to apply for the visa. It's easy. It could be a challenge because there are a number of pages, but once you complete all, you have all the information, complete all the pages, I don't think it will be a problem. So we encourage the student to do the visa application for themselves. Also, just to pitch in on what you mentioned earlier, the GRE and the GMAT, please always prepare that the consular officer will give you a trick question. Trick questions are the things that they will just out of nowhere, the consular officer will ask that just to check if you are really, serious about your application. If you really know what you're doing, if you're really applying for an F-1 visa, the trick question could be about your program, your tuition, the fees. So that is also part of knowing your program. Like what I said, know the things about the program, the university, your tuition included, your fees included, even the address of your campus, because they will ask you about, oh, which campus is this? What street? We have students who are asked about the exact address of the campus. So that is, those are informations that are really detailed, but they will ask you about it. So always be prepared for that.
And then to add to what Christina said, it is really important that everything be done by you, whether it's your application, scheduling your visa date. You're the one in charge. We can help you be prepared to be confident, but your answers are your own. Make sure that you're honest because the consular official will know. So our job is just to kind of help you know what to expect so that you're prepared, but not to tell you what to say. Only, you'll have to be able to say that for yourself. But also just to mention, if you are having a hard time finding a date, check with us. We don't have any additional access to dates, but we do work with a lot of students and we see trends and tips. So we might see in your country that dates seem to be released at 11 p.m. on Sunday night, so we might be able to tell you that and give you a tip based on student feedback. You will still need to book it yourself, but please check with us. We're happy to share those kind of tips that we get just from working with all the students that we do. And I know we're running a little over time, so I want to make sure that we wrap this up, respect everybody's time. But if we did not get to your question, I think we answered most of them. If you have a very specific question, please reach out to us. Any questions at all. That's what we're here for until you arrive at Alliant. So please be sure to reach out. Christina, any last words before we close out tonight for me?
Yeah, I really appreciate students who attend this webinar because it's very important. This is the last step before you leave for the United States and continue your admission or your program with Alliant, your careers in the future. This is very important part of the admission process. Always reach out to us if you have any questions, regardless if it's visa, regardless about your program. We are here to assist you. That our team is here to assist you. Send us an email or send us a message on WhatsApp if you have our WhatsApp number. Also, for the visa, just stay focused, review your the information that we gave you, review all the informations about your program, stay relaxed. You don't really have to be unnecessarily anxious because there's no point to that actually. All the questions of the consular officer will be about you, your program, and the university. So, and I think you can answer that immediately, right? We wish you to join the program as on your intakes. So we hope that this helps you some way, and we help you on the preparation for your visa application. Yeah, feel free to reach out to us. I hope everybody have a good morning, good night, or good afternoon, wherever you are.